You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm glad you joined me. I'm recording this on a bright Saturday morning. It's a great day. What's our topic today? Starting a business and the feeling of depression. Depression and starting a business. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So I was thinking, as I'm always doing, as I'm either walking or mowing the lawn or writing papers or whatever I'm doing, I'm always thinking of things that affect people. And one of the issues is that, and everybody thinks that they're going to be this wonderful experience of starting a business. And I'm here to tell you, because I have gone through this for so long, and starting businesses, closing down businesses, helping other people start businesses, that you go through a depression. Because starting a business is a lonely experience. You're starting it by yourself. It's that feeling that you're excited, but at the same time, you're unsure of what's going to happen. And you're positive. I mean, you're upbeat and you're really wanting to work. But then when you get into the nitty-gritty of it, you find that there are financial issues that you have to deal with. There is compliance issues. There is funding issues. There is things that don't work when you're trying to develop a product. And there are so many aspects of this lovely experience of starting a business that a lot of it, you're going through it alone. That's why I hate the word entrepreneur. I hate that word more than anything else in the world. Because entrepreneur is just this thought process and this big word that describes how wonderful it is to start a business. But to start a business and to get it going, it takes hard work. And there are going to be times where you are going to think, am I failing or what's going on? That's one of those issues that starting a business is not a happy-go-lucky time. It takes pure focus and it takes pure dedication. And it means sometimes you got to put your friends to the side because you have to focus on what you're doing to get this company or business up and running. So you go through depression. You will be a happy-go-lucky person one day, and the next day you will be in deep depression because you don't know how to handle the issue. Now, what I suggest is that when you start a business, find 4 people that have experience in starting a business. And make them your own personal board of directors. Not a formal board of directors in your business or corporation. But make them your personal board of directors. They are going to be your advisors. They are going to be your mentors. They're out there. And there are people that are willing to help you go through this process. Because they have been through it before. Now, I love starting businesses. But I also know that there are going to be deep, deep bad days that are going to affect me in the way that I think. But you're always having to snap yourself out of it. And when you feel that way, call up one of your members. And I would suggest you have a really good friend or associate that's an accountant, that's an attorney, that has started their own business, and maybe even your pastor, so that you have someone to pray with as you go through this experience. There are going to be days where you have no money whatsoever. And you're going to have a lot of faith in finding a way to come up with funding or to pay your bills. Some of you are going to charge your credit cards to the max. I wouldn't suggest it, but some of you are going to do that. And then you're going to have the depression of debt. And that's the worst kind of depression that you can ever have, because it's lingering over you every single day. Especially when you're getting to that point where you're just about ready to max out the last few dollars on your credit card. So you're going to have depression. And it's going to hit you, because we are human beings and we are filled with these emotions, and it hits us hard some days. But you got to keep going. You have to keep having that mental ability to go forward and not fall back. And some of you may even have to go into the hospital because you're going into this stress mode, this panic mode, this hypertension mode. It's not easy starting a business. And I'm being blunt with you, because I've been through it too many times since 1984. And I've been with it through my clients, and being there for them and giving them advice and motivation to keep going and not give up. Some don't make it. I'll be honest with you. Some don't make it because they don't have that. They think they are really good at becoming a business owner, but in fact, they should never even be a business owner, because it's just not their cup of tea, or in my case, cup of coffee. But you have to keep going. But if you are under too much mental stress, you know what? You don't have to do it all at one time. You can do it in baby steps. You can do it one step at a time. Sit down, write your business plan, and say, okay, I can do this, and then I can do that, and then I can do this. And sometimes it may take you 2-3 years to get to that final step for you to actually say, okay, I'm now ready to start the business and start marketing and promoting my services or my products. I was reading an article the other day, this individual who had started her business. And she says, you don't want to go through depression at all. She would hope that no one would go through depression, but since we're human beings, we do that. And the first thing that she did, she gave some examples of what she did to overcome this depression and this emotional frenzy that you get into. And the first thing, be kind. And she writes, there's nothing that teaches you compassion and humility like personal struggle. And she thinks that one of the most important things she has learned as an entrepreneur is that kindness is not weakness. The reality is that giving someone the benefit of the doubt or extending grace even when it is undeserved will only serve your business in the long run. And then she says, take baby steps. It's easy to get frustrated when we feel like something isn't happening fast enough. But often the most important thing you can do is just keep going. Small steps will eventually add up to big results. But it is as long as you keep walking in the right direction. And so many times, I'm telling you, I have had clients who go off into another direction and don't stay on that path. They have a plan of action in place, but they don't stay with it because they get distracted. They go off to do something easier than to focus on what you need to do, which is hard to get to your goal on your business plan. And then she says, do it scared. There will never be a time when you feel completely confident or comfortable. And that's okay, because in the end, action is the only antidote to fear. Courage doesn't mean you will never be afraid. Courage is simply being willing to take the next step. And then she goes on and she says, don't give up. In life or in business, there is no mistake so big that you can't recover from it. No matter how bad you screw up, there is always a way to rise from the ashes, and the reality is that your biggest breakthroughs will always come from your biggest breakdowns, as long as you refuse to be defeated. Nothing in the world will ever take the place of persistence. And I've told my clients so many times, is that there's always an answer to every problem that comes up. There's always an answer. Don't fret, don't stress out. Just look for the answer. Go to someone that has been through this before, and they probably have a good answer for you. But there's always an answer to every single problem. Every single issue that comes up. That's why it's so emotional. It's this emotional roller coaster when you're starting a business of always trying to look for ways to succeed. That's why I say surround yourself with 4 people who are going to advise you and guide you. It's never bad to ask for help. Never is. If you need to hire a business coach, hire a business coach. That's why people come to me, because I've been through this process before of starting businesses, forming businesses, getting businesses up and off the ground, and also sometimes closing businesses because it's just not the right business for that individual. Sometimes people come to me too late. I would suggest getting a business coach right up front. Put them on a retainer so that you can go to them anytime. It's not that expensive. And it's probably the best kind of dollars that you can invest in yourself by having a business coach. But don't get a business coach that advertises themselves as a business coach. There's a lot of people out there that are going to give you these words and everything that's supposed to inspire you, but they give you no direction or no input on how to get to that next step or how to take care of that particular problem. Find someone that has actually built a business and run a business. Otherwise, you're wasting your dollars. This individual has gone through the emotional roller coasters already, so he'll probably come to you and say, okay, let's snap out of it, let's find an answer, and let's move forward. And usually, what happens is, through the business coach, you are the one that finds the answer because of the guidance that individual has given you. But just don't hire any business coach that's out there advertising themselves as a business coach. Look and see what they've done. How long have they actually been in business? What kind of businesses have they touched or run? If they've never run a business, if they've never started a business, you're going to the wrong place. So it's an emotional roller coaster. And you're going to go through depression, but you'll snap out of it. I guarantee you'll snap out of it as long as you build yourself a good business coach, a good set of advisors, that you have multiple people that you can go to. Don't make it too big. 5 people is good enough. One is the business coach, and the other 4 are your personal advisors, because you will need that personal advice. I've been there, done that, and it's the truth. Do you know that, just to give you some statistics on entrepreneurs and business people and those starting their business, about 69% of U.S. entrepreneurs start their business at home. And that's the best place to go because it's the cheapest place. If you go out and rent a office, you're going to spend a lot of bucks. Even if you go to an office complex where they just lease you small offices, that's even expensive. But if you have a home and you have an office in your home, then it's much cheaper because you have a home and you're paying for an office space right there in your home. It's much simpler. And everything's there for you. If you need to have meetings, go out and rent a conference room. I know in some of these executive suites, you can rent a conference room for $25, at least in Florida. $25. In California, it's $100 an hour. But it's worth doing that because then you have a professional presentation. You have monitors and everything where you can do presentations from Excel or whatever type of system that you're using. But you can do it cheaply, and you can still look professionally. According to the National Association of Small Businesses, their economic report, the majority of small businesses surveyed are 35% are LLCs, S Corps are 33%, corporations are 19%, sole proprietorships are 12%, and partnerships are 2%. Interesting facts to know because I know that the majority of the companies that I form fall into 2 categories. They're either an LLC or an S Corp. The other one is C Corps. But that's the trend now, is that people are going to the LLCs. But now the tax rules have changed, so a lot of people are now going to C Corps because of the way that the new tax rules have changed under the Trump tax plan. And the question was asked of people, and 51% came back with this answer. What's the best way to learn more about entrepreneurship? And they responded, 51% of those surveyed said, start a company. Amazing, isn't it? So there's a lot of different reasons why people start companies, and there are reasons that sometimes should not be considered. If it's just because you hate your job and you just want to start a business, but you don't know what kind of business and everything else, but you still quit your job, that's stupid. You had no plan. Anytime that you quit something, you better have a plan for something else to fall right into. But we see this happen so many times, where people just get so upset with their boss, because remember, we're emotional creatures. They get so upset with their boss that they quit. But they have nothing to fall back on. Nothing. I was interesting. This past week, I heard the statistic, well, not the statistic, but the report that said millennials are having a tough time dating because it's just too expensive. Which means millennials are really cheap. A lot of millennials have started startups. So they're operating on a very low cash flow budget. But now there are other millennials making good money out there who don't want to spend money. That's why they're still living at home. They're on the cheap. They've decided not to take the responsibility and venture out into life on their own and to begin a life. And part of that life is dating. Part of that life is going out and associating with other people, but they don't want to do it because it's too expensive. Well, it is expensive. I mean, you look at, if you are drinking, that's where most of your budget goes. Drinking liquor is very expensive. Very expensive. So when you order that martini that ends up to be $10, $12, that's pretty much more than a meal. Don't hesitate in cutting some things back. Liquor, for one thing. You don't need liquor. You can have a great conversation without liquor. You don't need to spend extras on stuff that you really don't need to impress people. So these are all parts of the frustrations and stresses that individuals have today, but they don't want to deal with it, so they just stop doing it. Instead of looking at other options, they just stop. Well, when you are starting a business, you can stop, but you're going to lose a lot of money and a lot of reputation. Or you can continue on and try and get it done, get the right people to advise you, and see how far you can get. There's no disgrace in failing, because sometimes businesses just do not work out for people. But there are other cases where the business is the right fit for that individual, and it is something that they truly love, and they go forward with it, knowing that they're going to have to deal with bouts of business depression. It's going to happen. It's happened to me. But I got through it. I didn't whine and moan and groan. I just sat down and said, okay, how am I going to... Okay, I need money for payroll next week. What am I going to do to get there? And that's when you bring out the phone and you begin making phone calls to all those people who owe you money. Now, there's a lot of lazy people that don't want to do that because they think that money's just going to flow on into their business. It doesn't flow unless you get it to flow. And sometimes it takes a little push to get that money in. It takes work. What I said at the very beginning, it takes work to get a business going. There are times where you say, okay, how am I going to get this service out there to my clients? Because I need so much money for programming. What am I going to do? Well, I tell you what, you start looking at whatever else that you can do to bring in that money. Or to bring in that expertise. There's some statistics out there that's quite interesting. And one of them says, the reason for starting a business, here's some statistics. Ready to be his or her own boss, 26%. Wanted to pursue his or her passion, 23%. The opportunity presented itself, 19%. Dissatisfied with corporate America, 12%. Laid off or outsourced, 6%. Not ready to retire, 6%. Other, 5%. Life events such as divorce, death, etc., 3%. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of reasons out there why people want to start a business. Thank God, ready for his or her own boss and wanting to pursue his or her passion, they're the highest percent. 26 and 23%. Thank God they're the highest. Because if you don't have the passion, you're not going to make it. If you don't have the passion to take on the troubled times and the good times and the in-between times, you're not going to make it. That's just the way it is. So remember, You don't have to do everything all at one time. Otherwise, you may get really, really depressed. Take the baby steps. Like I told you, baby steps is fine. It may take you a little bit longer to get to where you want to be, but at least you've taken the time and the looked at every way that you can to get something done, but you're not doing it all at one time. In other words, you're not mounting on a whole bunch of stuff, a load onto your shoulders to do all at one time. You're taking the baby steps to get there, one step at a time. So that is my lecture today. Welcome to Starting a Business 101. I didn't mean for it to get so long. But I wanted you to understand that starting a business can be depressing. But it can also be a whole lot of fun if you surround yourself with the right people. Because things begin to click and things begin to move on down. Now you may have a hiccup every so often. It happens. Happens even today in my business. I have hiccups all the time that you don't expect. But you have to deal with it. Don't get depressed. Don't get moaning and groaning. You have to deal with it. And if you feel depressed, talk to a good friend, one that you can trust. Talk to your pastor. Talk to your business coach. If you have any questions about starting a business, send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. I answer all texts. And let's get to it. But don't be depressed. Move forward. Get it done. I'll talk with you very soon. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. Everyone go out and have a good weekend. Again, if you have a question, send me a text at 818-252-5682. I will talk with you very, very, very soon.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully content driven.